إذ قال يوسف لأبيه يا أبت إني رأيت 11 كوكبا والشمس والقمر رأيتهم لي ساجدين.
In the name of God, and prayers and peace be upon the messenger of God, Joseph, peace be upon him, transferred his 2 companions in prison to another world, which is the world of the unseen and monotheism, and neither of them had heard anything before that about monotheism and the worship of the one Lord, nor had they heard anything about the stories of the prophets Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, as if he was tempting them with a position of benevolence, and that the path to it was to follow the correct religion. At the beginning, the 2 young men said to Joseph, peace be upon him, we see that you are one of the righteous. So he guided them to the plan to achieve righteousness by implementing monotheism in their lives and singling out God in servitude. It is as if Joseph penetrated to the depths of the common sense of his 2 companions, and they were affected. The scholars say that they believed and became monotheists, and that the one of them who died by being crucified died as a monotheist. In general, everyone who was in contact with Joseph, peace be upon him, was touched by some of the goodness and light that was flowing from Joseph, and was positively influenced by Joseph's faithful personality. In Joseph's saying, this is the upright religion, but most people do not know, we mention some of the synonyms and meanings of the upright religion, which is singling out God for servitude and rejecting polytheism, ruling by God's law in all aspects of political, social, economic life, and following the religion of Abraham, peace be upon him, and all prophets and messengers. After Joseph, peace be upon him, guided his 2 companions to the right religion that would lead them to God's satisfaction and paradise, he turned to interpret the dream that each of them saw, and he said in the following verse, O my fellow inmates, one of you will serve his master wine. As for the other, he will be crucified, and birds will eat from his head. Thus the matter you are inquiring about is settled. So the first one survives and is acquitted by the ruling regime at that time. He had been imprisoned on charges of involvement in a conspiracy against the king, but he comes out innocent and re-engages in work within the king's entourage and works as a cupbearer for the king again. As we said, the verses show us the nature of the prevailing political and social atmosphere, and reveal to us the atmosphere of luxury in palaces and the prevalence of alcohol among the people, because they are a pre-Islamic society. As for his other friend, it seems that the charge is proven against him, so he will be sentenced to death by crucifying and will remain hanged for a period to be an example to others and not be buried immediately. When he saw in his dream that he was carrying bread on his head from which the birds were eating, his interpretation was that after he was crucified, he would remain on the stake until the birds would eat the flesh from his head. Then in the end, Joseph, peace be upon him, says, thus the matter you are inquiring about is settled, meaning that he is certain that the interpretation of dreams he told them will happen, and there is no escape from it. And there is an indication that the science of dream interpretation is considered a type of fatwa. Indeed, the interpretation of dreams took place as Joseph, peace be upon him, told. The baker was killed and crucified, and the king's cupbearer returned to work next to him. Therefore, this one who survived gave the title, the truthful, to Joseph, as we will see in the coming verses. Joseph, peace be upon him, was certain that the king's cupbearer would survive. So he asked him a service, as we see in the following verse. And he said to the one he knew would be released, mention me to your master. But Satan caused him to forget to make mention to his master, so he remained in prison for several years. We note that Joseph followed the law of causality, so he asked his friend to mention to the king the injustice that Joseph was subjected to, in the hope that he would look into his matter and release him from prison. Joseph had told his friend the injustice that had befallen him and led him to prison. But due to God's wisdom, the cupbearer forgot to mention Joseph to the king, so he remained in prison for several years, ranging from 3 to 9 years.
إذ قال